So Charles, your background is in investment banking, and you've moved on to become very much this values champion. We don't usually associate such same investment banking in the same sentence as values champion. What was that leap like? Was it a natural progression for you?
Well, actually, looking back at my career, my life, I think the thread that ran through it all is the urge to to uncover what's true and what's right and what's fair. I actually started off as a lawyer. That's how I was trained, and I practiced as a lawyer, as a barrister, for a few years. And that's all about thinking things through for oneself, looking at evidence, but also learning to understand where you're coming from, learning your own emotional biases, if you like, and understanding about other people's emotions and their biases. In what I did in emerging markets requires a lot of the same qualities as a lawyer. In many ways, you're looking at the evidence, you're thinking for yourself rather than thinking as a crowd. And it's very, very satisfying. It's very intellectually stimulating, but it's also, I think, very satisfying. And really, it's something which, although we don't usually think of it this way, it helps the world prosper, helps people prosper. So I'm not at all defensive about being a banker, but I recognize, there's lots of areas in which actual practice in the banking industry, financial service industry, can improve.
Through World Values Day, through the initiative, through the past few years, you have found some real kindred spirits. Can you tell us about those people that you've met since establishing World Values Day?
I've met a huge number of people through World Values Day, a lot of organizations and individuals who are doing amazing things. World Values Day, the idea of celebrating values and making people more conscious of values, has really just appealed to people, appealed to organizations. They said, yeah, we want to be with you on that. And we've had amazing practical support from all over the world. Organizations like the RSC, commercial organizations like PwC, Action for Happiness, Global Alliance for Banking on Values, Cooperative Movement, the Rotary, all these big global organizations, once they found out about us, have been really, very supportive, and we're getting more all the time.
You have really found yourself as a global movement. What does that feel like?
Every year, the campaigns reaches into well over 100 countries. When we started out, it was reaching about 20 million people around the world. Now it got up to about 75 million or more, and that's just in one particular social media channel. So it's really a lot more than that. It's hard to measure, and that's one of the problems. We didn't expect it to really grow so fast, but people around the world really, really want to talk about values, and they want to put those values into action. And they look around them, they see just so many problems, so many big social problems, political problems, all kinds of economic problems, which actually cry out for people to behave with values, with better values than they're behaving now. And I think this is why it's become it's resonated so much with people, because it's the right thing at the right time.
Have you ever considered corporate sponsorships or partnerships to help you reach more people?
Corporate sponsorships are something we've thought about. We haven't really spent any time up until now in exploring that, mainly because we've just been so busy trying to keep up with what we've created. There's been so much work. We're all volunteers. We find it hard to cope with what we're doing. But it's true that if we had some corporate sponsorship, we'd be able to do more of what we do, and that would be good. What we don't want to do is to tie up with any organization in a way which would have a inhibiting effect on the way we do World Values Day.
Could you tell me what World Values Day looks like in 5 years' time?
My vision for World Values Day, I think, would be something that is bigger, but has a much more of a lasting effect on people's lives and people's thoughts and behaviors. People are talking about values much more in public. They're using values as a reference point, much more for discussions about difficult issues, which is what we clearly want to do. And they're beginning to talk about values even in terms of policy making, in terms of what governments do. And that's really, really important, because we can't affect what governments do without having this groundswell of change and demand for values coming from people around the world. The V20 movement this year in Indonesia will hold their own summit, which they hold just before the leaders all meet in the G20 a week before, to mark the handing over of their communique to the delegates that come to the G20 movement. So they meet a week before, and they're going to do this meeting on the same day as World Values Day. So we're going to combine the two events. We're going to have this lobbying of the world's political leaders happening at the same time as the World Values Day. And I think that's quite significant. So we're going to have, bottom up and top down. We're going to be spreading the word to millions of people, hopefully again, across the world on October the 20th this year. But we're also going to be talking to the leaders, making our appeal to the leaders with the Values 20 team.
I love that. That's very fortuitous that it's all happening on the same day.